Hi guys, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist, nomadcapitalist.com, and in this video I want to talk about the Dominica Citizenship by Investment Program. This is one of the oldest citizenship by investment programs out there, and I want to explain exactly how it works and some of my thoughts on this program. Now, if you don't know who I am, I have a lot of experience in obtaining second citizenships, including citizenships by investment. I have actually gone through part of the Dominica process, and so there's a little bit of a vote of confidence from me on Dominica in that regard. Dominica started its program back in the 1990s. It was the second country based on programs still in existence to institute this citizenship by investment program. Now, we have a whole set of videos here on our channel if you want to learn more about what citizenship by investment is. That term is misused a lot in my opinion, but Dominica is kind of a cut and dry example of citizenship by investment. You make a donation, and now more recently they have the option of investing in real estate, and they give you a passport, and the process takes a number of months, from 3 to 6 months. You get a passport. It's as simple as that. So let me go over first the options for becoming a Dominican citizen. The oldest option is to make a donation of $100,000 to the Government Development Fund. So $100,000 donation if you're single. If you are married, it's $175,000. And if you want to continue adding people, family of 4, or you want to have even more than a family of 4, then they start adding on additional fees from there. So that's the simplest way to go. I made another video where I talk about should you make a donation or should you invest in real estate, and I gave some of my thoughts about that there if you want to watch that video. But to speak of the real estate option, this is relatively new for Dominica. If you invest $200,000 in what is called approved real estate, you can also use that method to become a Dominican citizen. Now, the real estate investment, depending on the developer, may take a little bit longer in terms of actually getting your passport. And so there's some logistical issues to be aware of there. Up until recently, there was only one option to invest in real estate. Now you've got about half a dozen. And you've got some interesting ones. You've actually got a developer that's hooked up with the Hilton chain, and you've got more options. Now, one of the concerns that people talk about with some of these options, just in the Caribbean in general, for CBIs, is that the real estate isn't that enticing. That's why it's approved real estate. You can't just go and buy any real estate you find online. You have to buy from one of the approved developers. And so, because of the cost of being part of the program, you're not getting as much real estate as you would on the open market, but you're ostensibly buying something that you can resell a couple of years from now when you're allowed to do so. Some of those real estate programs are going to be timeshares, some are going to be condos, and obviously, while $200,000 is the minimum, the developers will have options above the $200,000 price. Now, if you make the donation, 100 grand, you're in, or 175 for a couple, you're done. You pay your due diligence fees, your legal fees, the passport issuance fee, miscellaneous fees, but you're done. If you do the real estate option, the government is obviously promoting its developers. They get money through investment in the country, but they're also going to charge you a $25,000 fee if you do the real estate option. If you're single, it's $35,000 if you're married, so that's how the government gets some money. So really, if you're a single person, the difference between the real estate option and the donation is really $75,000, because you're still going to pay $25,000 in government fees, and then everybody pays all the other fees basically the same, due diligence, legal, etc. So, is it worth for a $75,000 difference, maybe you just make the donation. Now, those are the two options to become Dominican. Again, either one of them you can become a citizen in months. What does that get you? Well, it gets you a Dominican passport, which gets you the ability to travel to over 100 countries. Dominican citizenship gets you into the Schengen area in Europe. It gets you into the UK and Ireland, which a lot of these Tier B passports, as I call them, don't give you. So Dominica's past history with the UK, having been granted independence in the 1970s, gives them that status to the UK and to Ireland. It also gives you access to some countries in Central and South America, There are some countries in the Balkans and Eastern Europe, the typical Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia. So this is a relatively straightforward Tier B passport. There's really nothing about it that is amazing in terms of, oh, it gets you into one of the countries that's really difficult to get into. South Africa, Thailand, Morocco, these countries are difficult to get into. Dominica does not add any of those. It does not add Russia or China. But it's just kind of a basic citizenship by investment program. It does get you in, as all the Caribbean programs do, to the UK, which is valuable. If you are looking to spend a lot of time in the Americas, I might look at other similarly priced programs, because Dominica does not have that good of access to Central America. So if you want to be traveling around a lot in the Americas, then there might be better options for you. One of the things that people often promote, and this is why I'm so opposed to a lot of the promotion that goes out there in the citizenship by investment industry, is that people will say, oh, it's tax-free. There's no tax on your worldwide income. Well, that's not true. There's one country in the Caribbean that offers a CBI that is tax-free. That is St. Kitts and Nevis. Dominica does have income tax, and the income tax rates aren't particularly low. What people say when they say it's tax-free is that means if you are not living in Dominica, they're not going to come after you the way the IRS does, for example, to tax you on the income you make overseas. If you go and live in Dominica a substantial part of the year, they're going to want to tax you. And Dominica, as with most of the Caribbean islands, if not all of them, is now part of the CRS information sharing regime. So your information will get back to them if that's where you claim that you're a tax resident. Obviously, they're compliant with FATCA. So there's a lot of things to keep in mind. Most people aren't going to become Dominican and then go live in Dominica. But to say that it's totally tax-free is a bit disingenuous. So that's important to keep in mind. If you're planning on going and living on an island somewhere, you do have certain privileges depending on your work history to go and live in some of the other islands. But it's important to realize that. I think Dominica is an interesting program. It is tied for the lowest cost citizenship by investment program in the Caribbean if you're single. If you're married, there are cheaper options. What I always tell people is it's worthwhile to have a review of your situation and figure out, should I get a Caribbean CBI? Should I get a Caribbean CBI and something else? Should I get just something else? What is it that I need? And so to me, picking a citizenship like buying speakers off the back of a guy's truck is not really what you want to do when you're spending six-figure sums. So if you want to figure out more about which passport is best for you, we have a service that does that at our website, nomadcapitalist.com. You can get some help. I think before you spend this kind of money, it's always helpful to get some help from someone who's done it and to get some honest advice about your situation. Depending on where you want to travel, where you want to go, what your objectives are. Are you a US citizen? Are you Chinese? Are you from somewhere else? What reason do you want this passport for? It's always valuable to kind of look at that whole picture and figure out how this is going to come into your equation. For example, if you're a US citizen and you plan on renouncing as a Dominican, and that's your plan for taxes or just protesting or whatever else, there are some other things that you should take into consideration before you do that. So it's definitely worth kind of getting a holistic review. But those are the basic facts on the Dominica Citizenship by Investment Program, one of the oldest out there, worth consideration if you're in the market. And if you subscribe to our channel here, we've got a lot of videos on what economic citizenship is, what are the alternatives, the common myths, as well as other programs that you may be interested in. So definitely subscribe to our channel, and if you're ready to pull the trigger and you're ready to get some help on finding the best passport for you, you can go to nomadcapitalist.com.